talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, Chris DiCarlo. Today we got a very special guest making his debut on the show. It's Jake the Gorilla Pilla. How we doing today, my man?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I know you got a big fight coming up. You know, Combat FC 7 on May 24th. Obviously, I had to have you on here to talk about that one. But before we jump into it, I'd like to get into your background a little bit, man. Just so off it, man. Where were you born and raised? What was growing up like for you? Give me the rundown.
So I grew up in Billerica, Mass. I've been there my whole life. I'm still there now. I grew up really well. A good childhood, very loving parents, a little brother that I'm closest can be with. That things were good. I did martial arts my whole life. I've just kind of stuck the course, man. I got nothing to complain about,
Love to hear it, man. Growing up through school and whatnot, did you play any traditional sports, or was it always just martial arts for you?
No, so the only sport I ever played was I ran track for like 1 year. Other than that, man, I started Kung Fu when I was 4. And then I started like assisting with coaching when I was about 9. And so I was in the Kung Fu studio 5 days a week all the way through school. So I never had time for sports,
Yeah, I hear you, man. So where did your introduction to MMA come from? What was the first time you found out about the sport? And then when did you decide like, okay, I want to get into the cage and start doing this and kind of chase it as a career?
So Kung Fu is obviously not super combative as like a martial art. But the UFC was really starting to kind of boom at that time in my life. It was, this is going back, I'm a younger kid doing martial arts, and then these guys are like doing it on the highest level. So it's kind of cool to watch. And then when I was a little like 13, 14, my jiu-jitsu coach, his family moved in next to my family. And he found out that I did martial arts, and he was like, "Oh, hey, buddy, like I have a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You should come train with me." And at the time, I'm 13. I've done Kung Fu a long time. I kind of thought I was tough. And I went in and like, yeah, dude, it was a whole different world. They beat me up so bad. I walked outside and cried, and I'll never forget, as I leave, he was like, good job tonight, buddy. Same time tomorrow. And I have no idea why I went back, but I'm still going back for more, So.
Of course, man. I know you obviously go in there and you get into the gym and it just becomes like a habit and you get that itch and every day you keep going back there to strive to get better. I'm sure that's kind of something that happened to you, right?
Oh yeah, man. You're in there enough and you work hard enough that all these things that you're learning and you're trying to perfect, you want to see if they work. It's like doing math your whole life and never taking a test. At some point, you're like, I gotta see, is this real? Can I do this? So gotta put it out there.
And then at what point in your training did you decide that you wanted to get into the cage? And once you made your way into the cage and to actually compete in your first amateur fight, did you get that itch that everybody talks about that like, okay, this is something I want to chase?
Yeah, so I knew very quickly when I was doing like the jiu-jitsu and I started doing MMA and taking classes, I knew very, very quickly that I wanted to fight and I loved it and I was like extremely obsessed. And so I waited out probably from the time I was like 16, 17 to fight, like waiting to be old enough, waiting to, and once it came together, man, that feeling's unreal. When you touch gloves and everything pauses for a minute, like there's nothing like that, so I think that's kind of like a high you're chasing forever. And so once I had that first fight, things went well and I trained hard and, like it wasn't a fluke. I went in there and accomplished, something off of hard work. I just fell in love with it.
For sure, man. Your nickname, you go by the Gorilla. What's the story behind that, man? What's the origin story there?
So my dad was 6'2". He was like a really, really big guy. I think at some point I'll probably get taller. It'll happen,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's coming. I know. Our growth spurt's coming. The heavyweights better look out, feeling good. But no, so he was, really big and it worked out quite a bit. He was in great shape. And he was training a couple guys at the gym. And where he was so big, he used to call them Pillas Gorillas. And I was at a tournament one time and he was on the side of the mats watching me. And as I won, the guy was like, hey, I know you're up again. If you win the next division, we got to give you a nickname. And so he came back over and I kind of like didn't know what to say. And I looked over and saw my father and I was like, what about the Gorilla? Like kind of just, that was him, I was proud to kind of be there. And so in front of everybody at like Twin River, they announced me as like Jake the Gorilla Pilla. And once I heard it, I was like, that is sick. Like,
yeah, man, it definitely rolls off. Obviously, like it obviously rolls in with your last name as well. So it definitely sounds good when people announce it out loud and it's obviously stuck and now it's with you forever.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. I embrace it, and knowing that it came from my father makes it feel a little better,
100%, man. For those that haven't seen you fight before, there will be many tuned in on Fight Pass for your next fight that maybe haven't seen you perform. How would you describe your fight style to them?
Uh, aggressive, aggressive and flashy. Um, I don't mean it like a show off way, but definitely very, flashy. I want to jump off the cage. I want to cartwheel kick somebody. I want to sub them in the first minute. Like I'm coming to fight. I'm putting on a show for the fans. I bring thunder to that arena. And so win, lose, or draw, man, I go out of my shield. I'm here to let everybody know that I'm still, I'm kind of still doing it.
There you go, man. You are 4-1 as a pro. I know you fought at featherweight, you fought at bantamweight, a few, 140-pound catch weights mixed in there. Which weight class do you feel most comfortable in?
So I'm definitely a 35er all day. Featherweight's just too big for me, man. You look at guys like Calvin or, like some of the top guys in the world, they're 45ers. They're huge, And so for me, I think 35 is right where I belong. I'm just going to kind of stay there for a while, hopefully take a couple more fights and get a bigger call up.
There you go. I know your last outing was at Combat FC 5 where you fought John Douma for the Bantamweight title. Unfortunately, you end up losing that one, but I like to talk about it a little bit. You hit Douma with some good shots early in the fight where you had him hurt. Did you feel like that was your time to capitalize and kind of empty the gas tank there for the finish?
Yeah, like we game planned definitely different than what I did. And I think I would have had better results if I stuck to the game plan. But we knew Douma was tough. Hats off to him. He had a better game plan that night. I felt like I hit him with some really big shots. I felt like I had him, rocked a couple times, hit the takedown. I felt, again, super aggressive. I felt like I was really, bullying and pushing my pace in my fight. And, he ended up catching me with a kick. And afterwards, all of a sudden, all I could think was like, man, I can't feel my legs. Like, fuck. And so I just bit down on my mouthpiece and we started swinging and, he got the better of me. And, again, hats off to him. No disrespect. He's not but a class act. And if anyone's going to beat me, I was bad. It's him. But coming back with a vengeance, man.
100%. And after the fight, once the dust settled and everything, you had a chance to look back on the fight. What was going through your mind there, backstage?
I was just trying to dial in. It's one of those things where obviously the feeling and the emotions are really high and really stressful. And so if you can, be prepared and be a little bit more ready to feel those emotions and have those things, it makes the night easier. So I was, that last fight, I felt good. I'm in the back singing and dancing and hitting pads and just staying warm. And I'm hopefully going to keep that same energy this time. Everything I do, I like to have fun with it, because if I'm not having fun, what's the point? Life is short. Right. And so I'm just going to go out there and have some fun. Hopefully my fun's a little bit more fun than his fun that night.
Of course, man, 100%. You've had some time now to retool and kind of get things back together in preparation for May 24th. So how have things been going for you since then?
Good. Life's been a little bit crazy. I kind of had a lot of personal stuff going on. And so I'm just kind of, walking through that. But, long story short, I lost my father a couple months ago. And so it changed my whole life, And, it's not easy and it sucks. But I'm just going to go out there and, do exactly what he would want me to do. Yeah. It's kind of where it lies, It's definitely some different emotions, some different feelings, I've never had to take the walk without him or do some of those things without him. So it's going to be, very difficult. But at the same time, man, like, thank God for the gym and the camp and training, because otherwise, I don't know what I'd be doing. So, I don't want to say I'm drowning myself in this fight world, but, I know this is only going to be, do me right. So I'm putting all my energy, all my focus into this, man. Like, I just want to get back on my feet.
For sure, man. My condolences. Sorry for your loss, but it sounds like you do have a good group of people around you to kind of keep your head on straight, and you got, fighting to kind of dive into and occupy your mind and your brain space there. So it seems like you're kind of doing the right things to get back on track for sure.
Trying, man. I appreciate it, and I'm blessed with the people around me. Me and my mom, my little brother are as close as can be. And, I don't know what I do without them at this point in my life. And I'm just, I'm grateful. My team, my family, like everybody, man, they've been so good to me. And I want to go out there and, make them proud. That's all it is.
Of course, man. All right, let's talk about those people around you a little bit, man. Let's talk about your team,
Sure.
Gorilla Crew Fitness. What was the inception behind the Gorilla Crew Fitness there? And just give me the backstory of like the culture you guys are trying to build over there with your fight team.
We're a family, man. That's the culture is truly to just take care of each other. If you're in the right room, people should know that if I want to be better, I need you to be the best you can be, right? And so selfishly, as good as I want to be, you have to be the best version of you. And so my guys really emulate that. You know, from the new guy in the room to the, you know, my longest lasting student, they all, you know, they hold themselves, you know, accountable. They really are, you know, like as close to a perfect team as you could get.
Nice, man. That's awesome to hear. And how has camp been for you? I know you are in the midst of it. It's winding down now, a few weeks away from fight night. How has fight camp been for you overall? And are you cross training anywhere? Give me the rundown. What's camp look like for you?
Yeah, man. So you know, I've been in shape for a while now. I was, you know, I planned on jumping right back for that last card, but you know, everything happened. I've been to Vegas a couple times, kind of training with some of the best gyms in the world. But back here, man, it's my gym. It's FAF with Coach Sean. I'm there. I just left there, and we just stopped on the way back to do this. But you know, I was just there hitting pads, warm up at Burgess MMA up in Manchester, man. Between the three gyms, mine and theirs, yeah, it's the perfect combination. You know,
Yeah, man.
they're always taking care of me. And then I have Brian Carwell, who comes down to my room. He's one of my black belts. He beats me up all the time. So they come together, man. They really treat me right and take care of me.
There you go, man. It sounds like you have a good camp behind you, and definitely looking forward to seeing you get into the cage and put it all to use on May 24th. Speaking of that night, man, who will we see in your corner?
So in my corner that night is definitely going to be Nate Lamont. You know, it should be Nate, Brian Carwell, and Sean Graham. So Sean Graham at this point has taken full lead at my career and kind of, you know, he's consider him my manager, you know, head coach. He is you know, he's really kind of taken me under his wing, and I could not appreciate him more, especially after the last couple months. You know, stepped up,
Yeah,
he's
for
taking
sure.
care of me, he's looking out for me. He's everything a coach should be.
Awesome, man. All right, let's get into it, man. Combat FC7, you're going in there versus Adrian Haly, who is 3-3 as a pro. What do you
Yes,
know
sir.
about your opponent, and then how do you feel about his game?
He's tough, man. He's durable. You know, he had that last 3 round fight with Josh. Josh is tough. Josh is a good wrestler. You know, has good striking. So, you know, I know he's no slouch, and I didn't want to go back in there with just some can. So, you know, I wanted somebody a little bit of respect on their name, and you know, and show that I belong here. I think he's good. I think he's well rounded. You know, he just stopped a state wrestler a couple times from takedowns. You know, he looked crisp. At the same time, I think that there are aspects of me that are above the average fighter at my level. I don't know if he has those attributes. And so I think that when I go in there and I settle my game plan and I stick to the plan, I just don't see him having the answers he's going to need.
For sure. And when you look at the matchup stylistically, when you break it down skill for skill, where do you see yourself having the advantages?
I mean, I'm super confident in my jiu-jitsu. I think as soon as we touch the fence or touch the floor, my any worry that I have kind of goes away. You know, his biggest hope is going to be kind of to do what Douma did and, you know, catch me with something that I didn't see coming and try to finish it. Otherwise, I just don't see him having any answers. You know, I think
Right.
he's going to be really frustrated by my movement. I think, you know, I think I've made a lot of changes and adjustments that last fight allowed for. You know, and I think he's in for an entirely new animal.
There we go, man. And you know, you touched on a little bit earlier, but Haley is coming off that win versus Josh Medeiros at Combat FC6. I know you were in the building for that event.
Yeah,
So did you, when you were watching his performance live, did you pick up any knowledge of his game? You know, being there in person.
a little bit, but you know, like a night like that, you see so many fights. You're kind of watching, half watching. You don't know if it's going to be a matchup or not, and so I never try to like. If I'm there for an event like that, I'm not trying to like psycho, you know, like analyze the whole time. But I've gone back and watched all the stuff. I mean, we've sat and broke it down and taken notes, and you know, so we have a game plan. We have things set up. You know, I think he's going to be really surprised by the fighter that I am that night.
There we go. And then what can the fans in Wilmington and, you know, the many that are tuned in on UFC Fight Pass expect from Jake Pilla once the cage doors lock on May 24th?
Oh, fucking fireworks! They are getting absolute fireworks. I am, you know, I am on we'll call it a vengeance tour at this point because I really wanted that last one, and this one's 10 times more important. So, you know, I kill or be killed. You know, all the respect and you know, class act to my opponent. You know, again, I don't know him. I have nothing poor to say, but we both have a job to do, and I'm going to do mine better.
There we go. And 2024 is still young, man. It is still the early part of the year. What are your goals for the rest of this year? Do you have anything that you'd like to accomplish before the end of 2024?
I want to jump in a couple of the IBJJF tournaments, some of the bigger ones, and then as long as I can kind of fit those around the fights, after this, I'd like to have 2 or 3 more before the end of the year. I want to stay super active. I had a very active year last year. After that loss, I plan to be, right back at it. And now here we are. So, things in motion stay in motion. So I'm just trying to stay there.
I hear you, man. All right, brother. Thank you for taking your time. Before I get you out of here,
Anytime,
where can the people come find you, and anybody you want to shout out before I let you go?
Perfect. Yeah, I want to shout out my mom, my little brother, my best friend, and my superhero. And if anybody's looking for me, it'll be on Instagram, Jake the Gorilla, and you'll find all my stuff.
Awesome, man. Jake, I appreciate the time, brother. Best of luck May 24th. I'm looking forward to seeing you perform live for the first time. Very excited about it. So I'll see you inside the building.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir.
Get down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.